All right, man, peace. So now this is going to be Concubine Problems Volume 2, starring Mr. Brandon Browner, the former standout cornerback of the Seattle Seahawks, the New Orleans Saints, also the New England Patriots. He teamed up with Darrelle Revis in 2014 to win a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, Mr. Brandon Browner. And the reason why he's the latest star of my Concubine Problems series is because, once again, he's a brother that was unable to tell the difference between a wife and a concubine, and he made a very, very gross strategic error, which is very common with brothers who can't tell the difference between a wife and a concubine. He bought a gift for a concubine that he tried to get back. And brothers have to understand this: when you buy gifts for anyone, not just a woman, but anyone, you have to chalk it up to the game if the relationship goes awry. If you buy something for a family member, and all of a sudden you and that family member are on the outs, you can't go back to that family member and say, hey, I want back that necklace that I bought you. It was a gift. I mean, it is what it is. You have to chalk it up as collateral damage. It's okay. The problem is that a lot of these football players, a lot of these athletes in general, are allowing themselves to fall in love with concubines. And that's why when I make these statements to you brothers about having more than one woman, I state that just because you can does not mean that you should. And furthermore, even just having one woman, still you have to be able to discern and decipher whether or not you're dealing with a wife or a concubine. So the dynamic never changes. Whether you're dealing with 3 females or just one, you have to know the rules of the game. Am I dealing with a wife material female or a concubine material female? And once again, people like Brandon Browner and LaShawn McCoy, they're dealing with concubines and trying to wife them up. And then either they or someone that they paid has to perform these outlandish acts just to try to redeem themselves and their own manhood, their own masculinity, because they realize that they put themselves in a very bad, a very precarious situation by empowering a concubine. And you can never empower a concubine because she has no respect for the masculine principle. She has no respect for male energy, and she's going to try to use any amount of inordinate power that you divest over to her to try to use it against you. And that's the bottom line of it. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. I've been here with Van and Michael J. Babcock. What's up? Serious note, this just in. This is just handed to me a second ago by intrepid reporter Lucas. Brandon Browner, a former member of the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom. Remember him?
And also a former Saint as well.
Yeah, arrested and charged with trying to kill his former...
Brandon Browner has always had issues with performance-enhancing drugs as well. Am I trying to make a correlation between his performance-enhancing drug use and maybe some anger management issues? No, not really. Because I think that he has decision-making problems even more than anger management problems. And that's what I try to concentrate when I make these videos. Brothers, look, none of us are perfect. None of us. But it's very important that the so-called black man understand the dynamics of what's going on around him. It's very, very important. And that's why I always touch on the female intermittently. I touch on the female, on the woman on this channel, because that's going to be the main strategy that a lot of the demonic forces that control this society use to try to destabilize you.
Former girlfriend in Laverne, California over the weekend. Browner is charged with 1 count of attempted murder, first-degree robbery, first-degree burglary, and false imprisonment. He faces 2 misdemeanor counts of cruelty to a child. If convicted, he faces a possible, life sentence in state
without
prison.
a doubt, man, yeah.
Bail has been set at $10 million. We're going to show, because I'm going to write this up and put this on the website. We're going to have more on this for you tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.
From what I understand, many of those charges that have been placed on Brandon Browner have been extremely inordinate, but it is what it is. He put himself in a very bad situation. Supposedly, he broke into that female's house and tried to take back a Rolex watch or some type of luxury watch that he bought for her, thinking that he can get it back because she was no longer willing to be with him in any type of relationship. And let me say this. Maybe she's a wife material female and he's just a low-level dude. That's also a very high possibility, maybe even a probability, because he consistently has gotten himself caught up in very bad situations because of his poor decision making. So it's very possible that the female that he's trying to get the watch from or take the watch from was a decent person, was a good woman, or a concubine. Either way, my channel is more about what the so-called black man needs to do. because these other demographics are always talking about the so-called black man pointing the finger at others when he should be pointing the finger at himself. And I agree with that, because I view the so-called black man as a king, and as a king, we have to operate according to a high level of discernment. I have high expectations for myself. I have high expectations for brothers. And if brothers don't have high expectations for themselves, that means that you're not a king. You have to go about your business and accept the fact that you're a servant. And once you accept the fact that you're a servant, then you no longer deserve the right to speak on important matters. That's basically the whole gist of it. But just getting back to the topic at hand, once again, brothers, when you decide that you're going to buy anything of value for someone else, you have to know why you're buying it and who you're buying it for. And you have to have put in many, many years with that person to get an understanding of who they are. You just do. And if things don't work out, you just chalk it up to the game. You don't got to break into their house. You don't have to send anyone in there to take it back. And the reason why both Brandon Browner and, in my opinion, in my view, LaShawn McCoy did that is because they felt like they had been emasculated by a female who they thought they were in love with, or who they thought was in love with them. So once again, when I see these storylines, these concubine problem storylines, really it's just a lack of understanding on what the difference is between a wife and a concubine, and also a lack of understanding as a man in regards to what you do and what you're going to have to understand once things go awry. In life, things are going to go bad. You have to go with the flow sometimes. You can't always just get some get back. But anyway, peace.